Hey everybody, this is campaign diary number 3. So when last we left our heroes, they were running through the forest after a battle with a troll. They decided that resting in the forest is way too dangerous, so they are going to go right through the night. They first hear a howl, a horrible sound from far deeper into the woods, and they were able to skirt by just going through this large clearing. They were able to skirt through this clearing, getting away from this creature. Which they look back and see like a wolf man or werewolf. They weren't quite sure, but something like that was following them for a brief time. They were able to just get away from it. Moving on, they continue running through this forest, getting closer and closer to home. They're 4 hours from home, where they come across a massive tree, which after a few more minutes of looking, they're like, it's just an elder tree. It's one of, it's a crawlish ancestor. So grown into the ground, totally harmless right now, unless you dream by it, which point you can get a little messed up. But harmless because they didn't sleep there. They move on. They finally approach the camp. There's a little outskirt camp being tended to by two crawls. One of them is Riot, who is the weapons seller of the camp. He's a private, but he seems to have an unnecessary and a massive amount of weaponry on his person. And the other one is Drebside. Drebside is the sergeant of the second splinter of Camp uh, Covered Creek. Camp Covered Creek. He's the constantly smoking uh, sergeant. He has one after another, and he's constantly lighting up. He's a little bit twitchy, but he's very confident in himself. And as they approach, he kind of is happy to see them and kind of tells them to get back to camp, and he'll see them later, kind of thing. Make sure that they're safe on their way back. As they get back into camp, uh, they stand out in the rain, waiting for their captain so they can issue their report and finish off their mission. So they stand there, and they stand there, and they stand there. Now, if you've never been in the military, I've never been in the military, but if you have never been in the military, what I've heard is you do a lot of waiting for those higher up. So here you are. They wait for roughly an hour in the pouring rain, and around 10 in the morning, the commander finally gets out and says, "Oh, good job, right?" This is Sendri Fay, by the way. He's a Nemanukai, a grafted crawl. He's more powerful than normal, and he's their captain. And he says, "You guys did a good job, but you guys seem okay, so get back out there." Now, all these guys are at 1 health. They got crap kicked out of them the last mission, so they're not doing well. And they just made it through the night, and fortunately, they are able to kind of chill out a little bit. Like, two of them will have to go out, but the other two can kind of stay in camp. So right away, our rogue, Yama, just goes, "You know what? I'm going to take the day," and runs to the camp and starts sleeping. The sergeant, um, Ritsu, and the ranger both go out. New Orleans and the ranger both go out and relieve Drebside and Riot of their little scouting post. So they switch out, and then those two are going to be stuck there for the day. And it's raining, and they're stuck out in the forest, which is kind of just miserable, but they're going to get through it, they think. As for Harvey, our emissary, he spends the day trying to buy, sell, and really gain a little bit of insight into the workings of the camp. He goes in to check on the fallen warrior that they had saved, or the fallen sapper that they had saved. He was able to check a look at him, meets multiple characters, all the different characters of the camp that he comes across. He meets the sergeant, Sergeant Ark, who is the leader of the first splinter. Sorry, he meets Corporal Laudry, who is kind of a thieving little guy who likes to kind of take what he can whenever he can. But he also meets Socks. Now, Socks, pronounced Hawks, is a strange and little ominous merchant that lives near the river, the Covered Creek proper, and he sells some items back and forth with Harvey, and Harvey's able to make a few deals that are beneficial for him. Specifically, he gets a small charm made of a amber-like substance with a tooth in it, and a few other handy little extra things. After all that, the group is reunited back at home, and they are given a bunch of. Gonna make sure I get all this in the right order. Doop doop doop. Yes, the two people who are out in the tree, they have to be called back by Drebside, and the two people that were out in the forest were invaded by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little bushes that wanted to eat them. So they decided just to hide in a tree, and the bushes couldn't climb, so they just stayed there. And then Drebside decided to come in with a flamethrower, which is a weapon that they'd never seen before, and he claims he found randomly out in the woods. Why does he have a flamethrower? Nobody knows. So he burns away all these little bushes and awakened shrubs for those D&D fans out there. He burns all them away and says, let's get back to base. They all meet back at base, and they are sent on they're told it's time for us to go on a mission. Okay, we're all going to go on a mission. A bunch of other people are coming to this base. This base is now going to become a full outpost. Right now it's just kind of a scout outpost, but they're bringing in a full regiment of soldiers, like a full group of soldiers. Right now it's just like 3 or 4 scout groups, but now it's going to become a military hub, which nobody really wanted, because this is supposed to be kind of a relaxing end of your tour base for scouts, but now it's going to be a problem. So our characters decide to or the commander decides to send the characters out on one last kind of scout mission before they get reintegrated with all these new guys. Kind of, get a little bit more information before they're at home and have to have to retrain and do all this kind of stuff to become proper scouts for a soldier group. Anyway, they then decide on information gathered by Llewellyn. Llewellyn found a local, and the local was just full of all these rumors and things. And they were like, we went north already. The north is a disaster zone. We're not going back up there. And he's like, well, actually, to the south, there's a strange lake, which has a rolling kind of thunder sound consistently over it. And it's very, unnatural. Like, the lake itself has no natural water spring into it. It seems to just bubble out of the ground, and it's not a natural spring. Like, there's no reason for there to be water there, but there's a full lake. So they decided that sounds interesting and relatively safe, so they're going to take that side of the mission. They sell off the great troll sword that they found to Riot, who equips them with better weapons for the trip, a few little knickknacks, mostly just weapons, like a longbow for Llewellyn, who finally has a proper long-range weapon. And yeah, they get ready to head south. Right before they leave camp, they are kind of gathered around by the other members, the other splinters. Now, this is something I do as a DM. I like putting my players into situations that are realistic, but are really uncomfortable. Now, military and sports teams and all these, a lot of different groups, they have hazing rituals. And I think hazing is disgusting, but it's realistic. So I decided, hey, let's have these people get hazed. And I didn't make it too disgusting. It's just a brand, which is still pretty horrible, but it was something that was, not going to make anybody super uncomfortable. So all of them get hazed with this brand that runs down the inside of their leg, kind of looking like a creek. So it's pretty humiliating, and that's what hazing's all about. And now they're all now you're covered creek for life kind of thing. You've branded into the group, right? So they got these brands. A few of them took it better than others. And now, one of them escaped the brand. Mr. Harvey used suggestion to get out of actually having to get branded. He made the suggestion that, well, I'm not technically part of Covered Creek. I'm a liaison for a company, so I won't get hazed, but I will take a drink with you. We'll drink like this drink, and the guy's like, cool, sure, we'll pour shots, and they both pour shots, and they light the shots on fire, and they drink those. Kind of like it's symbolically similar, but it's not exactly the same. And I thought that's fair. I like that kind of. He used a spell slot, and he was able to kind of convince the people with good rolls and good persuasion checks, and I thought that was reasonable. And these are not very smart people; they're lifers in a really corrupt military. So, what do you do? Anyway, they finally get ready to head out. Now, next session, they're going to be heading down south. So I thought, because it's a little bit of a shorter video, I would kind of share a few of my processes for this campaign. One thing I've been doing in this campaign a lot is random tables for encounters on the road. I have 100 long encounter list that they roll up, and there's patterns in that encounter list. Like every 10, there's a certain thing that can happen. Every 20, there's a certain thing that can happen. And so there's patterns. So if the players are paying attention, they'll be able to predict what's happening. And that's by design. It's supposed to be kind of like, hey, we know what's in this forest. We know what's kicking around. And they can start predicting what's happening and start understanding the territory they're in. And I think it's saved me a lot of prep, but it adds this unknown into the game. And whenever you roll up anything that doesn't make sense, just tell them to re-roll. And they don't know what the number does, and you don't know, like, you don't have to tell them. So yeah, there was an opportunity. Actually, there's 2 opportunities in a row where they re-rolled the same number for the strange wolf man encounter, and I felt it wouldn't make any sense. They already outran him. I didn't feel like having another one in the same area would make any sense, so I just said re-roll. And then they rolled something else out that I will not spoil here, but it just didn't make sense in the context. So I was like, well, I'll just let them re-roll again, and that's where they got the elder tree roll. I also feel like something else I'm doing in this campaign is a little different than my other campaigns. Is I'm just not giving them stuff, not giving them weapons, not giving them stuff they can use. I'm giving them like modern implements. Like the items I've handed out so far are a fishing rod, a shield, and none of them are frontline fighters that would really use a shield. I've handed out I think they're called a diffuser, which are like like a modern diffuser for essential oils. I just felt it would be really funny to give one of those, and if you put a potion in it, it would diffuse and give you like this kind of potion that kind of diffuses amongst everybody and gives you like everybody like 1 health or anything. And not very good, but interesting, right? And something that they could use, right? If they wanted to try. I don't know how they're going to use it, but why not? But yeah, I've been trying to give them items and weapons and tools that aren't super useful, stuff that they have to figure out how to use. And then obviously there's DMs probably, there's nobody watching this, but if there are DMs watching this, they're probably like, oh, duh, right? Like, yeah, you're not supposed to give them stuff that's super obvious that they can use. But it's kind of a new thing for me that I'm trying. I'm trying to be like, well, you don't have, like, the world's not tailor made for you. Sorry. I'm not being mean. I more or less roll up a random item. I roll on I'll make a chart of random stuff like a weapon types and like other types. I'll roll randomly on it and be like, okay, this is what you find. And if they look at it and go, how the heck am I supposed to use this? I'm a ranger. I'm not going to use a sword meant for a troll. That's like, well, yeah, you're not. Sell it and move on, right? Like, and I feel like that's kind of been my strength in this. I don't know if it's going to work out long term, but I hope my players are enjoying it. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching, if you are watching. And yeah, that's about it for today. I'm thinking the next session will be very interesting. We're going to be hitting up Thunder Lake. Have yourselves an excellent day, and next time in Yule.